The rank is not.
Here, you know what? I'll do is I'll just unplug it.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:31 by last watch. Mr. Phelan is here. All right, so the first thing on the agenda here actually is at 6:45, but we're now 6:30. So do we have other things that we can cover? We can do signatures, payroll warrant, bill warrants, and things like that. Would you like to read the payroll warrant?
Is it on the agenda?
It's not in
I didn't bring it.
You don't have one?
I got it. Yeah, you had it.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so we're going to, while we're, Gary, you're posted at 6:45, so,
I can get started if you want, Jeff.
okay, so we'll hold off on this.
Okay.
Okay, Gary Swanson, East Street complaint.
Hello, Mr. Phelan. How are you, sir? Good, sir.
Actually, I'll keep this fairly short because I'm sporting a cold, and probably more importantly, a lot of this got resolved in the office of your zoning enforcement officer, Rich Oleksak, this morning. All of the parties met with Rich, and basically, well, the first thing I think everybody generally, I left that around in your office for a few days last week, just so everybody would get an idea of what's happening here. I don't like to blindside anyone. I wanted everybody to be prepared. Excuse me. What this was about tonight. Basically, this is the property. I'm here actually representing myself and my wife, Jerry, and the neighbor, the abutter on the other side, Mr. and Mrs. Lamoureux. I spoke with Jeff Lamoureux today. He had lodged a complaint, and his problem, as well as mine, is that this activity basically devalues our properties. About 50 years ago, the Town of Southampton took the initiative to protect properties and to orient, to decide where industrial, commercial activity and everything would be in the enactment and the development of zoning bylaws. Mike Phelan is very familiar with this. He spent many years on the planning board. I don't know how familiar the rest of you are with this, but basically you're the CEOs of the community. You are the enforcement arm. You are the police commissioners. Fortunately, you have to go out and pay for police because you're not allowed to go packing except maybe one of you
Need to be packing.
Bottom line is, you have this activity, you have your enforcement activities taken care of by professionals. Your professional happens to be the building inspector, Rich Oleksak, who is also the, actually, if I could get that back here, I got some stuff on the back of it. Is also the zoning enforcement officer. I'm not here actually to make a case so much of what that this is a violation of the zoning regulations. Rich understands this, everybody does. In case anybody had any question, I've got the applicable parts of the zoning bylaws on the back of this poster board. Excuse me. But basically, open storage of materials and equipment is the key factor here. Basically, you're not allowed to disrupt a neighborhood situation, and this is exactly what's going on here.
Thank you.
One of the purposes of the zoning regulations is to protect the people who have made their investment in their homes, to make sure that they have that they don't lose that investment, that it's not jeopardized in any way, and frankly, to give them a peaceful, environment. Mr. Lamoureux, who is right next door to this, has been driven to distraction, he and his wife. He wanted to apologize for not being here tonight. I had set up this appointment and I didn't get to him until lately because I've had a cold. But the bottom line is that he is very much would like to see this problem taken care of. Rich could come in, except that I met with him later. Basically, what the zoning enforcement officer came to an agreement with Mr. Barton, who is the owner of this property. And the agreement was that he would move all of this lumber, and he has a sawmill, which you don't see in the picture. He has a sawmill right in back of the house, which also made it very clear he's not allowed to keep this equipment on this residential property. He's trying to set up a business here. He went into the town clerk's office to get a DBA, which he was refused, doing business as. And he also has, there are other indication, business cards and so forth, that he intends to set up a business here. We need to curtail this activity. The only problem that Mr. Oleksak was not able to pin down with him is a timetable. And this has been the problem with Mr. Barton from day one, where he said he would do something and he doesn't, and the situation just gets worse. What Mr. Lamoureux and I would like this board to do this evening is basically to back up its zoning enforcement officer and to take a motion to give, Rich is perfectly happy with a 30-day period to have this stuff moved out. If the board would go along with that, I believe this would end it. It would put some teeth into what's been happening now. At this point, frankly, the man's been thumbing his nose to the town and the neighbors, and particularly to your enforcement officer. That's got to end. And there's no reason why it should have to go any further than this discussion this evening. And I know this is not a hearing, but Mr. Barton is here tonight in case, I don't know if you want to say anything, but I pretty much said all I got to say at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Okay, does the board have any questions for Mr. Swanson or Mr. Barton?
Gary, Rich only said to clean up the materials, not to cease and desist the business operation? Did I misunderstand?
Cease and desist the business operation.
Not just clean up the
But
property?
also to clean up the property and, restore it to it.
Oh, okay, the 30 days is to restore the property,
Correct.
to remove any, but cease and desist at the same time.
I didn't get into that detail with Mr. Oleksak. You might want to check with Rich.
Because the letter I'm reading from February 9th says you can either clean up the property to make it more residential appearing, or contact me and I will arrange an appointment to appear in front of the select board.
Since that letter, it's gotten worse. The photograph that I showed you, I took on Valentine's Day.
But Rich doesn't seem to have said anything about the operation of the business.
Actually, he does. In September 27th, he says, "Therefore, I'm ordering the removal of the sawmill within 30 days from your house," which is located in the RN
Well, that's,
district.
yeah, the September letter with the February letter is a little more.
Right, but wouldn't that be the relevant document, and it's gone beyond that time?
Well, but then there's another letter, February 9th.
February 9th, yeah.
True.
their discussions this morning, as Rich related it to me, and also Mr. Lamoureux was there when Mr. Barton was discussing this with Mr. Oleksak. Their discussions this morning had to do with the cessation of business activity on that site. Rich got very upset when he received a check that had the business name with that 74 East Street, Southampton address on it. And also he was aware that Mr. Barton tried to get a DBA at that address for this business. He said he was here tonight. If you'd like to ask him any questions, I'd be happy to go get him.
Or he's not in the room.
He's
Mr.
in
Barton?
his office.
Oh, Richard's in his
Rich,
office.
yeah.
One possibility would be for us to vote to uphold the letter of September 27th, which has a 30-day clause within it.
That letter of September 27th, I didn't have the opportunity to read that yet, it's right here. Is that to cease and desist all business and also remove everything related to that business?
No, just the removal of the sawmill. It doesn't say and boards, whatever, saw
Should
lumber.
we get Mr. Alexic in here and clarify this? I think it might be a good
It
time.
might be, I think definitely, otherwise it puts Mr. Swanson in the odd position.
Reggie just...
Pardon me?
She went,
Rather
got
than me misinterpret, why don't I just grab him?
Yeah, exactly, otherwise we're
we got him.
listening to,
Reggie got him.
Oh,
And it's good to have Mr. Alexic here, and that way we can get any feedback from you and the gentleman in the back of the room and so on and so forth. And we'll have all parties here.
I would prefer that too. I don't like interpreting what someone told me.
exactly, we do have Mr. Alexak in place to interpret the zoning, of course, so I appreciate you bringing up the matter. But- Okay. Edgy.
Could I please see that, sir?
Which one do you want? The
That
September
latest one, September 27th.
27th? February 12th.
I thought the zoning board was
This is zoning board of appeals.
Okay, so if they appeal, they could go. So
Right.
if we say something, then it could go there.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Are we gonna be
Suggestion, yeah.
Can we be here? Okay.
Good, man. It's been a lot more.
Zoning pertinent sections, if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It wouldn't be a offended if you folks wanted to do some other
Yeah,
business.
why don't we, very least, let's do, I'll read this out. P1233, payroll warrant in the amount of $227,699.13.
Move to approve.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then we also have the treasury warrant, W12-34, in the amount of $187,918.91.
Move to approve.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay. And when you wash your car, it rains, and here's the building inspector.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Love to be
Rich,
here.
hi, we appreciate you coming in. What we're working on right now is we're responding to a citizen complaint with respect to 74 East Street,
Yep.
and apparently the installation and ongoing operation of what one would call a sawmill. And our understanding is that's an RN or a residential zone, therefore an operation of that sort would not be permitted under the zoning bylaws. We have before us...
You told me we were not permitted, and I'll do what I gotta do, but that, according to my concern, is that non-commercial forestry was just permitted. You know, to prove it's a business is gonna be a whole new story now. I've been working with him since last August on this. He finally did it today, he will clean up the place, we'll move the lumber, no more lumber will be brought in. And other than that, I've got no team to do anything else according to our bylaws, so.
Well, cat my dogs.
Hey, you know, I've been working on this for over 6 months.
The storage of materials, Rich, is
For
the,
construction materials. Well, it would,
what do you call when you got Flurry's lumber's worth of lumber piled up there in a residential zone?
I'm with you, but like I say, you know, I've got no teeth to really put a cease and desist or anything else in this guy. So I've been working with him, trying to get this straightened out. And it's been over 6 months I've been working. I'm working with the next door neighbor too. He met with my office this morning with the neighbor, we talked about it, he said he'd have it cleaned up. The only thing I'm looking for is a time frame on it, and he won't give me a time frame, but we'll have it all cleaned up.
So, Rich, you say that that's a permitted use?
Non-commercial forestry is
Non-commercial what?
forestry.
Non-commercial forestry. Where is that on the zoning? What number?
Non-commercial forestry is permitted in every district.
But you're taking forestry to mean sawmill, not forestry as in growing Christmas trees?
Well, like I said,
Non-commercial.
sawmill, there's nothing here about sawmills.
We've
What
had-
happened was the state came in here, he's got a sawmill permit for a sawmill in Ashland, Mass.
Ashfield.
Ashfield, Mass. The state came in here and inspected it on East Street, which I talked to the state, and they said that it should never have been done, inspected here, but it was done in town here. So he felt he could have a sawmill here. Well, I put a cease and desist on a sawmill, I said, you can't have it in a residential neighborhood. Even though there's nothing in there that said you can't, I said you can't. So he said, okay, so he got rid of the sawmill, he's not using a sawmill in his yard. Now he's got it all piled with lumber.
I'm confused. Did I
Yes,
miss
so am
something?
I. Like I say,
Wait a
my
minute.
bylaws,
So, the state came in and inspected the sawmill that supposedly belongs in Ashfield.
right,
They
portable
inspected-
sawmill.
Yeah. And we've had this one time before, and I can't remember when or where. We had a portable sawmill issue long, long time ago. But they expected a sawmill that's supposed to be in Asheville, they inspected it here.
Right.
But what are they inspecting it for?
The woman drove, the state inspector drove into the driveway, looked at it, didn't even get out of her car, backed up and drove away and gave him an okay.
Okay, for what? That it's safe, that it's in the right place, that it's... Okay, so we don't know. So that means nothing to us tonight.
Absolutely.
So the question becomes, is forestry
Right.
defined in bylaw? And I probably know the answer to that before I go looking, but I'll go looking anyway for the sake of argument.
That's well said, Mr. Phelan. My sense is that forestry probably does not include cutting up trees. However, we do need to figure that out.
Yeah, I'm assuming that, and I'm only making the assumption, that when I hear the term forestry, I assume growing the trees, cultivating the trees, not,
What happens when the trees grow? You cut them down.
well, that's a broad, expansive definition of of forestry. But if we don't issue a cease and desist, you've ordered him to clean up the
I've
property.
already sent them 2 letters. He
Yeah.
did this morning, he said he's gonna clean it up. No more lumber's coming into the property, he says.
So what happens to
Just
this?
take him at his word right now.
All right, but, so no more lumber's coming into the property. What is it? Let's strike that. He cleans up the property, but he still has a sawmill there.
He's not using a sawmill.
But he's not using the sawmill.
Right, he's gonna bring all this stuff over to, Strader's Farm, it's all going on Strader's Farm.
So what is,
Sawmill and all the
Are we moving the problem from one place to another, or are we, where's Stranger's Farm?
Strader over there on, what do you call it there, on, Gun Road,
Talking about Fletcher.
Fletcher's Farm.
so what would be continuing here at 74 East Street? If everything's,
Nothing.
so what is the problem?
Yeah,
Well, he hasn't given me a time frame of how long it's gonna take to clean it up.
well, how much wood is there? How many board feet? How many acres? How many?
Well, he's only got a half-acre lot, so, and it's in a backyard.
Now, this is only a 33-quarter acre lot.
But I mean, is that most of the lumber we're seeing in that photograph, or is there more that we're not seeing?
Well, since that picture was taken, I think the logs are pretty much gone now. It is all just lumber in there.
Maybe it would be appropriate for Mr. Barton to express his desires here.
ITAB with me, but if we had notebooks here, we would be able to look at
Another
it.
argument, I just slipped a little deeper into that hole.
So one of the things we could do is we could look up within Mass General Law, which may have precedence here over, no, I wouldn't, over local zoning bylaws, but
Well, here comes the interesting question that I hate to raise its ugly head, but when I was on the planning board many years ago, the planning board, theoretically, Rich is the enforcement officer for, has no authority to making him or issue any order. He, in fact, is the final arbiter, under my remembrance of the decision we got back then, of the zoning bylaw. Planning board can't make him issue an order. And we ran into this with Charlie many years ago.
one thing we could do then, Mr. Field, would be to ask the Bartons who are here what their intention is with respect to this in a neighborly fashion, is how New England things are frequently settled. This isn't Brazil.
That would be one way to do it.
I'm looking for, can he clean it up? I'm looking for the time frame. Give me a date, 30 days?
Well,
That's fine, you know.
Well, can't you, in fact, put a 30-day order on it and then issue citations after that?
But citations
Ignore
under
bylaws,
under
yeah.
what frame? He needs something,
Well, but if he's saying it's not, if Rich is saying it's in violation, it needs to be cleaned up, if he doesn't clean it up, what are your options? You can go to court.
Like I said, I deal with Boston now with our legal department. You tell me, because whatever decision I make, they say it's not right, so.
Well, I'd rather see you do something and let's get in trouble for doing something as trouble getting not doing something.
easier to ask forgiveness than permission, Michael.
That's
All right, so,
No, I'll give him a time frame then.
And if he doesn't, if in fact you believe that it's in violation and it doesn't meet your satisfaction, then do whatever it needs to do to take enforcement action.
but a suggestion might be that you would need to have a firm base on which to stand in your interpretation of the situation, to the extent that it is a violation of zoning bylaws or your interpretation. We can't interpret it for you, it's up to you. So, we're really not the CEO.
Mr. Chairman, you had a good idea before, and that was, a lot of times we resolve this type of thing amicably. All the parties are in this room. I would at least suggest that you ask Mr. Barton what his intentions are.
I'd be happy, Mr. Barton.
Yes.
Sir, may I ask what your intentions are with respect to cleaning up the property at 74 East Street, including removal of sawn lumber?
For those of you that don't know me, I'm James Barton. My wife and I own 74 East Street. When I purchased it, I moved in December last year, or actually a year before. Been there 13 months. Short memories in this town. I bought that house on foreclosure. Okay? I don't know, did anybody go to that foreclosure sale? Has anybody been inside that house? Okay, no one's been
I have
inside
back in
that
the
house.
50s.
Ever since I bought that house, I have done nothing but continue to improve it. Okay? I've painted it, I'm remodeling the kitchen, remodeling the bathroom, fixing things that are wrong, making it so it's safe. There was holes in the wall, there was leaks in the ceiling. Okay? I am one person. I work 6 days a week. And I do work every evening. If anything, ask. I have complaints about me making noise in the evening working. Okay? That place will get fixed up. The last time I rebuilt a house, it had been condemned. It took me 4 years. Took a $120,000 home, that was the property was worth, and turned it into an $800,000 beauty. Okay? I'm not a lazy person. I am continuing to make more value on that property. Part of it is going to be a mess. Part of it is because we don't have winter. Ever since the storm of October, I have done nothing but tree work. I work with Dave Garska. I risked life and limb to clean your streets up. Now I'm doing private work, and when there's a beautiful log there, what am I supposed to do? Chip it? Cut it into firewood? Normally this would never happen. Normally I would not have access to logs during the winter. And because the days are short, I can't go drop the logs where I'm going to be setting the sawmill up because there's no light. It's very unsafe to roll 2,000-pound logs with no light. Okay? Now, obviously the logs are not going to get milled there. They are going to get moved. As a good thing tonight, to show my good faith, I took 2 loads of logs out of there, totaling 10 logs. That pile you're looking at right there, about half of it's gone. That big pile of lumber right there is gone. That's a nice photograph, by the way. I like that.
No, check that one out, James.
I would love to have
Like the
that.
color?
That's a beauty. You did a good
Okay.
job there. I was hoping you'd give that to me when we were all done.
Yeah, and then
So
everybody-
anyways, gentlemen, a timeline, I'm
they-
one guy, I work 6 days a week. As long as I make good faith and keep moving in the right direction, I do not want to put a timeline on it. I have a truck that's sick. I have a tractor that can break. I have a 52-year-old body that I work to the death every day. It can break. If I break something, then I'm not going to meet the timeline. Okay? I have a solution for this. I have a neighbor who I had a very good conversation with this morning. Okay? And if he would be willing to be the mediator, he can keep an eye on me because he's right there. And as long as I'm moving in the right direction and don't regress, then let's not put a timeline on it. Reasonable. What is reasonable? Explain that to me.
Reasonable
Okay.
is subject to interpretation, Mr. Barton.
Right, there you go. You know, as long as I keep moving forward. And another thing that, you know, my neighbors have never come over and said, your front yard looks nice. When I bought that place, it was a pigsty. Pigsty! Bushes overgrown, trees broken, branches everywhere. I had seedling trees growing up in the middle of the lawn. My front yard is now clean, all except for maybe 1 quart of firewood. It's cleaned up. You drive down East Street in front of my house and it's clean. The bushes are trimmed. The trees are trimmed. The lawn is cut during the summer. I planted over 200 bulbs last fall, so now I'm going to have daffodils and other things coming up, you know. I'm not devaluing their neighborhood. It's just that my timeline is different than theirs. I can't hire 5 guys to come in and work 40 hours in 1 week and get a lot done. It takes me about a year to do that. And then, as long as I'm here, I would really like to know what law I am breaking by parking this trailer in my yard. That's a copy of the registration.
No, this isn't. This is a construction services.
Oh, did I give you all? Oh, that's the red.
Nobody said a word about your trailers in the last several months that I've been working with you.
Well, that's still on your first letter to remove it from my property. I want to clear that up. I should be able to park my trailer on my property when I'm not using it because I don't want to go park it in some field because it's worth $45,000. Okay?
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest we
Yeah,
stay
I
on
want this
focus.
taken care of.
Hang on, Mr. Barton, I appreciate the soliloquy here. However, we do have some other business to attend to.
Okay, one more thing, and then I will sit down, okay? I'd really like to know what laws I'm breaking, and if I am breaking some laws, believe me, I will bend over backwards to fix and make everything right.
These are zoning bylaws and regulations. They're not laws in the sense of mass general law, either civil or criminal laws are not being broken. What are being broken are zoning bylaws. It's our understanding.
But
That's not a law, that's a
Well,
bylaw.
which
There's a difference.
bylaws am I,
Right here.
Town of Southampton bylaws. This is not something for which you could be arrested in the legal sense. You say, what laws are you breaking? You're not breaking any laws. You are going against bylaws of the town,
Rules and regulations.
rules and regulations.
You're in a residential
Rich, can I
neighborhood.
get a copy of those that you feel that I'm infringing upon?
Sure.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
All right.
Okay?
Anytime you're gonna let it from me, and I'll give you a timeline, and that can be it.
Okay.
That's my prerogative, so that's what I'm gonna do.
Resolved. And I am moving in the right direction. Like I said, in good faith, I removed 2 loads of logs tonight, and I will take out another 2 loads this weekend. Okay? But I can't donate 100%. And 50% of that lumber, that is for the building permit I have there. That is legal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay?
Sure. It is within the bylaws. There's a difference between that and legal. We are not a court here. We are simply,
Okay, well, I'm a carpenter. I don't understand this stuff.
That's
My
all right.
wife understands this quite well.
it's okay.
Okay?
All right, we certainly appreciate you coming by, and we'll have to call an end to this. At this point, Mr. Oleksak has said he's going to send you a letter, he's going to continue to work with you with this, and
Okay.
we'll look forward to seeing the place cleaned up in due time.
And yes, and for good neighbors, you know what makes good neighbors? Good fences. As soon as the
We've
snow melts,
been
as
good
soon as the
neighbors,
snow melts,
Mr. Barton.
I told you I put it up.
Okay.
I already have the material.
Mr. Frost, to the contrary notwithstanding, we do need to move on.
But before we get off this issue, and I know this, I've heard this, no doubt to Mr. Barton's word, but not having an end game on the timeline.
Mr. Oleksak.
Are you going to put an end?
I'm gonna put it-
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been 7 months.
Yeah, it's September, we got a letter in September and nothing, and we haven't managed to do it since September, so.
Okay, all righty, thanks all for this.
Thank you.
Thanks, okay, we're moving on. Okay, PCFs and PRFs, disability forms and disclosure forms. Sort of enjoying, he's got a good stage with him. Try to do them both. Yes, and then pass them on. Okay, so we have Fire Department Dean Reel. Chief, is that it? How do you pronounce that? Dean Reel? Ryle? Dean Ryle? Reel. EMT firefighter part-time, he's going to replace Jim McAvoy. Okay.
Motion to approve?
Motion's been made to approve the personnel
Chief,
change.
is that the right starting pay for them? That? 50?
Yes.
I got whatever they had available from the finance, and that's what's on there.
Oh, I don't have that. Do you have it there, Mike?
No.
Where is that, Rich?
Which one? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
The chart that policy procedure had, I got a copy of that.
And the dollar, I assume, is a stipend for the,
EMT.
we got, they're going to be looking for his copy of his certificate for Personnel Policy Board.
Should have gone in, I gave her.
Maybe it has, I'm just,
Yeah, I
I'm
gave her all
now,
that paperwork, right?
I'm now the end game or the beginning game or
The
whatever.
goalkeeper. Okay, so this has been approved, I should have said, by the department head, by the PPPB, and the finance committee. So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second to approve this personnel change form or PCF?
Second.
Okay, with motion made and seconded, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. This is 2/21/12. Okay, let's see, it's just me. Okay, next one we have then is Police Department Brendan McKinney, part-time officer resignation.
Motion to approve or accept?
The reason for the resignation is he has obtained a full-time police officer position in another community. Now, I would just like to point out at this time that we are looking at things like succession planning. We're also looking at personnel retention in the various departments in town, and it might be just something to keep in mind that if folks are moving on to other jobs, then how are we in terms of competing for qualified personnel in all our departments? That's part of the way the world works.
And just another personnel policy, I think they've asked now that for exit interviews with people leaving,
Right.
may not be available, but
Yeah.
we should send a reminder back.
This is effective February 4th, yeah, so this is passed, but, okay,
But this is common for a part-time officer
True,
to
true.
seek full-time employment.
right, absolutely. But again, just in general, how competitive are we? What's the market out there? It's important to be aware of that. So do we have a motion to approve? It has been approved already by the PPCB, the Finance Committee, and is requested by the department head.
Motion to approve.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay, then we have presidential primary.
It's on your thing. Signature.
Nothing, all the way down to presidential primary. So, something we would all sign, and I'll just read it out quickly. Greeting in the name of the Commonwealth, you're hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of Southampton who are qualified to vote in the primaries to vote at the Town Hall, 210 College Highway, Southampton, Mass. On Tuesday, the 6th day of March, 2012, from 7 a.m. in the morning, obviously, to 8 o'clock p.m. for the following purpose: to cast their votes in the presidential primaries for the candidates of political parties for the following offices: presidential preference for this Commonwealth, State Committee Man, Senatorial District, State Committee Woman, Senatorial District, see, it's gender balanced, Ward or Town Committee, City or Town. And this warrant must be posted by February 28th, 2012.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Signature's really bad. Okay, appointment of 2 additional members to the Public Safety Complex Committee. We have 1 letter of interest and 1 verbal.
There seems to be 2 letters now, and just to
Yeah.
be clarification on the agenda, it says Bob Barkham, but the letter is from
William Barkham.
Will.
I'm sorry.
I was doing one of these to make sure I was right.
As long as it wasn't he who was mistaken on his name. Okay, so it's Bill Barkham who is asking to be on the Town Safety Complex Committee, and then obviously George Simborski. Do we have room on that committee?
You've increased it by 2 members.
We did.
And it's been posted.
Yep.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so they are on the committee. Do we need to sign? No, I guess not. Discussion items. I would like to, with respect to the bottom bullet down there, the PEG, a PEG review, we're going to need to be talking about that. I was going to propose to put that on the agenda for next time as an adjunct to our meeting with the Finance Committee. And the idea would be to go over what we have to date, and we do have some additional information regarding when some votes were approved and the budget, so that will help us get some clarity around that situation. Okay, how about the school district voucher? That's just part of the school, that's in the yellow?
That's part of the bill warrant.
Okay. All right, wow, that is,
Can I bring up something, please?
sure.
Okay, this is in regard to the senior center, under Town Hall, whatever, da-da-da. Ed Cawley called me up and he asked me to share this with everyone here. This is regarding the entrance to the Council of the Aging, which is the door, exterior, blah, blah, blah. It's the outside door. It was broken, not due to 5-Star or installation or any problem with 5-Star, the contractor. It appears over the weekend or last week, it was somehow broken. From Ed, it needs new pins and hinges. It was sprung, ruptured, or whatever you want to call it. Ed feels it's going to cost about $400 to $500 to repair it. He's going to have to hire a company. It is not on warranty, because obviously this had nothing to do with the installation, and he wanted me to share that with you and get permission for him to do this so that he could get the door fixed.
I'm distressed that the door has been broken, because it sounds like it took substantial effort to do it.
Right.
No one's aware of it, but we need to fix it. I move that we have that, I don't know where we're gonna, we got money in a fund for the building?
A little bit.
Or $500?
Yeah, we have enough.
Move to hire someone to have Ed contract out to have somebody fix the door.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion been made and seconded to transfer funds out of the building maintenance? Okay, those in favor? Aye. Okay.
But while we're talking about this, how do we, was it done during the day, at night? How was it? It seems like it must have been done during the day when the door was unlocked to cause it to be sprung and...
Right, Ed feels that some people, this is only his thought, that most of the people that use it are obviously the council of the aging, and they were moving things in and out, and he thinks that perhaps somebody put something under the door to hold it open, and it sprung it or ruptured all mounting hardware.
So I certainly don't want to see that happen again.
No, but, so, and that's what he thinks. He can't verify anything because he wasn't there. He knows in the time span that this incident occurred was within that time. However, it could have been something else.
Could I suggest that we send a letter to the Council on Aging and ask them if they have any reason for the door to have been broken? Just to see if they know.
They were asked by Ed, and they of course didn't know.
Well, I would still think we should
Yeah, that's good.
inquire in writing. I'll move that we inquire in writing of the Council on Aging what happened to the access door.
Okay. Also, if I may.
Oh,
Go ahead. We have motion
Excuse
made.
me. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're in discussion then on that.
I'm all set with that. Thank you.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to send a letter to the Council on Aging inquiring if they have any idea what may have happened to the door. Any further discussion?
None.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay, good enough. Anything else, Reggie, you have? I have one thing. In preparation for our meeting with Finance next Tuesday, which starts, I believe, at 7 o'clock upstairs.
Yes.
In the chamber, so to speak, that Reggie has provided us, again, with our budget line items. So if we have some time to go over these before then, it would be, a good idea to take one for the team, so to speak, and get prepared for what we might want to say to the Finance Committee.
Can I do something, one quick item before we, because this could take a little time, couldn't it?
Well, then we're going to go open time for the public, then executive session, and I don't see a need to go back into open session.
Okay, for open time for the public, if I may, one thing with Reggie, and Ed Cawley had mentioned this to me. 5 Star is complete with all their work here, to my understanding, and they have asked for a payment in full immediately, and that's not the way procedure goes.
Oh, I know that.
Pardon?
I know that.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
I want to bring it out.
There's
That's
a couple, I'm not sure about the lock on the assessor's window and the Pella screen. Pella's supposed to come back and replace the screen. And I'm not sure we are with the hardware on the main door over here. But otherwise, yes.
Okay, good. So, but we are not going to, how do I say this? We're not going to pay them until they requisition us through D.A. Sullivan.
Right.
And they come through all the channels. We're simply not going to make out a check for them. And I just wanted to clarify that with everybody. Okay, good.
Oh, I know. I told Noel that from 5 Star, that it needs to be approved through Ed Cawley, John Fleming, and then through the select board.
Very good indeed. Okay, Ed had just asked me to bring it out. He thought, okay, good.
Yeah, I didn't say anything.
Good, that's good. Good.
Okay, anything else? Open time for the public. Sir, you've been sitting patiently.
Was there supposed to be a poultry update tonight?
No, that was blanked out because...
Sorry, I was blanked out.
No, I
Well, that's
didn't.
right, you were here before for the chickens. What we understand happened was the Board of Health decided that they had enough existing regulations to control situations. Whatever control means is kind of like reasonable. So I gather you have a different opinion based on your body language.
Yes. The surrounding towns have regulations in how many chickens, where the chicken coop should be from parts of the land. The particular problem that I had brought up, the particular woman didn't even know how to compost their pile. She was putting manure near the well, which is definitely a health hazard. And the town hasn't upgraded their poultry regulations. I spoke to the Board of Health tonight and suggested that they meet with whomever in town, mainly you people, I guess,
Well, not us.
the zoning board. Well, what I'm trying to get is the town to come up and upgrade the law, the rules as to having poultry. Because as it stands now, they're breaking the law and nothing's, and it's not being, they took it to court, and that's going on. What would be solved is by coming up with rules and regulations for chickens to be in residential areas. The way it is now, they can have as many as they want, they don't have to compost. If they kill a chicken on their land, nobody knows where it all goes. It's a big problem, and it's going to get worse, and it's been getting worse in the surrounding towns, and now it's here. And all I'm suggesting is that somewhere along the line that you get together and try to regulate it. It's not right.
Okay, well, bylaws are actually something that are approved by the town. So that would be a town meeting. We don't really have the authority to do that as much as we would like to. We can't just make a change like that. So we could certainly do a petition to bring it up on the
It
floor.
would be a zoning issue to start.
Right.
And there would have to be regulations from at least two different, or could be from two. The Board of Health one and zoning the other. I believe the zoning bylaw contains, for horses, for instance, that there has to be a minimum number of land and that sort of thing. So the first place would be to have a planning board, if they so desire, to formulate a zoning issue or zoning bylaw on chickens. And go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, go ahead, sir.
I think it would solve a lot of problems when you have people, in this particular case, who was putting it near their well. And there's so many...
That's a separate, that's a
No,
Board of Health issue.
I understand, but if there were rules and regulations already so that when somebody applied, or however the town decides, says, well, I want chickens, they would have to get a coop, they gotta go to the building inspector probably, they got to get how many chickens you can have and all that stuff, then the bylaws, if you will, would automatically tell them how to do it. So they're not doing it haphazardly. They're doing it in a proper way so that it's healthy for them and healthy for the town.
Sure. So, from your perspective, has this situation changed since you were last in here last fall? Has the situation?
It's gotten better. It's definitely gotten better since the Board of Health has been in there. And, it's cleaned up to some extent. It's gotten better. It's
Not resolved.
It's not.
Yeah, our
Because they can
understanding,
always fall back, and that's our dilemma. We've been dealing with it for 4 years, and we've now finally said, you know, something should be done, and I'm afraid if it stands the way it is now, it's just a matter of time when I'm going to be back here again, and I don't want to go back here. You've got a lot of work to do, and I'd like you to do it.
okay. And we appreciate that. Again, I'm sure you understand that, you know, a town, this actually was an agricultural town. It has been for centuries, so there was never a need to do anything like this. What we're seeing is the growth of this town into more of a residential town than an agricultural town. So certainly I'm sure there are bylaws that need to be updated to reflect the times, absolutely. As Mr. Phelan pointed out too, contamination of a water supply, now that's a separate issue which goes against Clean Water Act and a lot of different laws, federal, state levels and things like that too. Whole different issue. So again, one of the things would be, as he suggested, would be we could talk to the planning board about this, I would think.
I mean, I think it's true that it's an issue in town, and it's certainly be in the paper for surrounding towns. And I think it was Sunday or last week or sometime there was another article for Amherst.
Chicken coop caught on fire in East Hampton.
All right, well, the Amherst had another one, or Springfield.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, it was Connecticut, New London. Someone needs to start. If we think it's enough of an issue, someone needs to start the issue with the planning board. But obviously, they've got other things going. So.
Sure. I think one thing that might be helpful would be to document this. You know, obviously, you're here tonight acting as a neighbor And I believe there was somebody who was going to come by and help compost that, is that correct?
Oh, there's a lot of things going on there that, but none of it is, in my opinion, is as, unless there's something official.
No, sure, I
I don't
understand.
want to, yeah, I'm having, somebody's coming over and compost it, but I don't know that, and I'm not saying they're wrong.
Right.
I'm just saying, look for,
Why don't we send a letter to the planning board and ask if they would consider a, hate to limit it to chickens, but,
A review.
in general, yeah.
well, but then we're gonna get into the
No,
rabbit,
it's a whole thing.
Right.
Chickens, rabbits,
Yeah.
ducks,
goats,
not goats,
it'll be here soon.
turkeys. I mean, we're talking like 20-something chickens and, well, I don't know, 13 or 14 rabbits and I don't know how many ducks and on a residential piece of property. I mean, 8 acres of
They
land.
have 1 acre probably.
The suggestion that we ask planning board to consider a bylaw for farm animals in residential neighborhoods.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
May I send them what I sent the Board of Health?
That's what I was thinking, whatever information we got on this situation, send it to planning board and ask if they would consider a bylaw on farm animals in residential neighborhoods.
I would just say that, too, this is the beginning of a major issue. You might want to take one of these seats just to see what it's like, because people move here so they can have pets.
Yes,
That's
no,
fine, but shouldn't they have to get a permit and no regulations, how far from people's property? Have some rules set down.
But we-
That's fine that they move.
We
I know
already
there's a-
already limit dogs to 3. Anything
I
more
know
than
there's
3 requires a permit.
And as far as the dogs go, this particular neighbor, that is not cleaned up. On the side, we can't go to the side of our house without smelling dog.
How many dogs are there?
They have 3
well,
dogs.
they had to be. I don't know what they got now. But that's not the point. The point is that
Well,
we're trying to get you to get
If
started.
I remember my zoning, 3 is the magic number.
Yeah.
Anything more than,
Yeah, I don't know
anything more than 3 gets them into a special permit.
exactly.
The
But
Board
if
of
they only
Health
got
agreed
3.
that they would like to take it up, because we spoke to the Board of Health to try to explain our situation, and they thought that they would be willing to sit down with whatever committees there were, or to try to resolve some of it. That's all I'm looking for.
Do we do that motion?
You
Move.
did, we need a second for your motion to, okay, we're going to request Reggie's to send to the planning board the same letter that you sent to the Board of Health with respect to poultry?
There was a couple. One was poultry and one was manure.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Okay, we are actually 5 minutes ahead of schedule. We will be going into executive session, and I want to make sure why. Number 6? Okay. So what we're going to need to do here is, we need to read number 6, and then go in by roll call vote. And we will not be going back into open session because we've done all the open session items. Okay, so I would like to convene executive session for the purpose of number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, taking, lease, or value of real property if such discussion may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the governmental body. And we need a roll call vote, please.
Bill and I.
Len Troy.